Hey, what is up, you guys? This is Los, Heath, and Anthony with the MaloCast. And today we have two special guests. We have Sebastian and Ava from The Loud Spot. What is up, you guys?
Hello.
Hi.
What's up, Sebastian? What's up, Ava? How are you guys doing?
We're excited to be here.
Yeah, doing well.
The tables are being turned.
I'm excited to be here. What was that?
I said the tables are being turned on Sebastian and Ava today because they're usually the ones who are asking questions. So the first question that we're going to ask is actually an icebreaker. What have you been listening to lately?
Ooh. Okay. Ava, you want to go first?
No.
Okay. I'll go first. And because I do a show, I listen to all kinds of music all the time. But I would say recently, and this is not a lie, I've been listening to Malcontent's new single that just came out a little bit ago. Yep. And I've been listening to it. Actually just played in my car like yesterday when I was driving. And I've been listening to Ava's in a band called Weird Wolves, and they have a new single that was just released. And I love the platform of that and the style, so I'm listening to that. Besides that, those are the two I've been picking, but also anything on Octane or like the 90s rock channel. So every little bit of everything else.
For me, I think I just let my Spotify Discover Weekly take over for me because I hate making decisions.
Said no woman ever.
Right? Yeah. Ask her boyfriend that, but he has a different answer for you.
He didn't mean that. Please don't cancel us.
I'm just kidding.
So, anyways, yeah, I just been listening to whatever new stuff. Every time Malcontent comes out with a new song, I have to listen to it. Just because Malcontent to me means so much since I was a kid, going to the Three Oaks concerts. And that's one thing I do got to tell you guys is I love your podcast because you have so many good stories that I'm like, was I there that night?
Yeah. All that says is we're old, man. We're old. Right. We've been around for a while. But hey, we're still doing it, and we're actually, I think, better than ever right now. So
yeah, I'm happy you guys started your podcast too. It's so cool.
Actually, go ahead, Carlos.
No, I was just gonna say we've been having a lot of fun with it so far, and we watched your podcast too, and we love it. I was just commenting on with these guys is that you guys have some pretty unique guests on there. I know I saw the one with Dishwalla. I just saw the live stream that you guys did. I saw a reaction video that you guys did, which for Ava's music, and I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, we've been having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, Ava's actually the one that got Dishwalla on the show. So I can't thank her enough for making that happen. She knows friends with the drummer and was able to hey, you want Dishwalla on? And I was like, who? And she's like, that song. I heard the song. I was like, oh yeah, I want that band on.
Counting Blue Cars.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those bands. I was only like 13 when that band came out with that song. So at first I was like, who? But then as I heard the song, I was like, oh, it brings so many memories back to my, I guess, junior high days.
Dude, I feel so old. Thank you very much for that. I was like 18, 19 when that came out, and I was bumping it all over the place. Used to love it.
Hey, so I wanted to ask you though, Sebastian, because I was thinking about this before. What made you want to do a podcast? I don't know if I don't know if you and I have ever talked about this before in the hours of conversations we've had. So I was actually kind of interested in that because for me, it's a weird thing to get into, but you do have the gift of gab. So,
I don't even think Ava knows the answer to this. Do you know how I start? So I only started the podcast 9 months ago. And the reason why I started it is literally I was at my house with a buddy of mine named Jason, and we were drinking beers, and we were going back and forth playing early 2000s punk rock and emo screamo. So The Used, My Chemical Romance, and even Blink-182 and Sum 41. And I was like, man, wouldn't it be so cool to have a podcast and play these bands on the show? And he was like, oh yeah, sounds like so much fun. I'm kind of drunk. And so The next day I was like, hey, you gonna come over and start the show? And he was ignoring my phone call, not wanting to do it. I was like, I'm gonna go through with it. But my very first podcast, which I deleted because I didn't know I couldn't do this, I was actually on my phone. I found a free app called Spreaker. I was on my phone and I said, hey, Alexa, play songs by whoever. And I was recording it on my phone, and that was like my very first episode. And it was horrible. It was horrible. And as I was like, you know what? I really want to do this. I started practicing talking to myself. And I think it's harder now, though, to do some of the episodes because I'm trying to look for new questions to ask.
Mm-hmm.
And I think and Ava, we talk about this all the time. I want to get new questions to ask and things like that. And if you're just interviewing musicians and bands, especially if they're just on like the local level, it's hard to come up with new questions when you can't really look them up too much.
Right.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, COVID has made it hard also.
Yeah, COVID has made it hard, but COVID made it easy for me to start the podcast because bands wanted something to do. That's why Malcontent did the podcast. Like, yeah, we got nothing else going on.
We were one of the first guests, right?
Yeah, you guys were. I don't know if you were the first. No, one of the first guests.
We were one of the first ones, I believe.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
That was back before everything's changed so much in 9 months, man.
I know. I mean, obviously, Kenny P was one of your original co-hosts.
Yeah, he sure was. He is.
So when you first started, what kind of challenges did you run into? And as the podcast, evolved and everything, looking back at the older podcasts that you did, what are your thoughts about the older ones that you used to do?
I don't even like listening to them. Honestly, my biggest challenge was finding a good microphone, I think. And I was using Zoom but I wasn't hitting the record button. So I remember I was using my phone to record me from the back, interviewing my screen when I was talking to people, and then putting that on Spreaker. And I think, for podcasters like yourself, when you first start, I'm one of those guys that I don't do research. I just jump into something and hopefully it works out and I get better as I move along. And for me, that's exactly what I did. I had no idea what I was doing. Literally, I looked up how to start a podcast. Like 5 minutes later, I started a podcast. Like I was going to start one. Like that's it. It's all the research I need. I'm doing this.
Well, Ava, how did you end up hooking up with Sebastian on the Loud Spot? How did that come about?
So originally, he asked my band Weird Wolves to come on the show for an interview. So I met him through that, and then he asked me to co-host and kept bothering me about it, and I
Sebastian? No.
That sounds like him.
I don't believe
it. I thought I wasn't going to be a very good co-host because I'm not very good at talking.
Come on. We know you're good at talking.
So you must have got the midnight text from Sebastian too. Hey man, you want to talk right now?
pretty much, I mean.
Nice.
Yeah, he convinced me to do it, and I'm glad he did because it's been a lot of fun.
Right.
Yeah, I think she was. So the thing with Ava, because I did ask her to do it, and she was hesitant after. She never said no, but she never confirmed whether she wanted to do it. Took a little bit, and I said, she was like, I don't think I'm good at talking to people, and for me that was fine because I talk a lot anyways. So, but the reason why I wanted Ava is I wanted a female perspective, and she's in a band as well. Right. And so being a band female, and she's younger than I am. So when I feel like I'm retiring, she could take over the show because she's like 13 years younger than me. So I feel like, she can carry on the show if the show gets bigger one day, because we're probably eventually going to change it to just the Loud Spot. But I feel like her being in a band and how she was raised would allow her to ask some questions to musicians that she could probably relate to that I maybe wouldn't even think about asking.
Right.
And she's asked some great. I'm like, almost every time I say Ava, any last question, she asks the best question of the whole entire show.
So literally what he just said at the end there is you carry the show.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Hey, but what about your we don't want to leave out talking about Sam. He's your producer, right?
Yes.
Sam McIntosh.
Yep.
How did you hook up with him? How'd you guys pass across?
Sam reached out to me one day. I woke up in the morning. I got a message on Facebook, and this guy's like, "Hey, I got this band called Jack's Diaries. Do you want to have them interview on your show?" And my immediate, response was, "Are you in the band?" Because he shared the music videos with me. He says, "No, but I manage them." So I watched their music video. I can't think of the name right now, but I watched their music video. And at the very end, it gave Sam and his company a shout out. So, and it came down to Say Hi is the name of the song. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. And, he said he liked my energy. And then I wanted him to be on the show to talk about his bands. And I think most people hesitantly come on my show. but he did, and then we did 4 bands at Slam with Sam, and he has bands that he manages and that he books on tours. And he comes to Oklahoma City one day, calls me, he's like, "Hey, I'm in town, you want to meet up for dinner?" Comes over to the house, we hang out, and shortly after I was like, "Dude, you should let me be a part of Diamond Noise." And he was like, "No, I don't do podcasts. Come on, Sam, pick me up, help me out." And eventually he's like, "Fine, I'll produce your show for you." And since he's done that, I have like the layouts, and we have like Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, very regimented, where before, I was all over the place.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah. I mean, we record every Monday, and our episodes come out every Thursday, and there's always, we try to plan them out, but sometimes, it's just anything goes with us.
Yeah, one thing actually Ava liked about it, and I'll let you explain why, is you kind of sent me a rundown of what you were going to ask, or like kind of a general layout.
Right. And
I don't do that at all. But Ava, when I told her, I said, because I emailed her the script that you sent me.
Yeah.
It's not really a script, it's more just kind of a layout.
Right.
She liked that because she was like, I can go write down my answers. Or me, I might regret what I say.
Yeah.
Hey, I feel you on that though, Ava, because I do the same shit. I write notes. It's good to be prepared.
It's not as easy for me to just have whatever bullshit come out of my mouth, Sebastian.
Yeah. I have to give it up to Sebastian though, because Sebastian is one of these guys who's like a natural talker. He can talk really, really well, very articulate. I mean, he's very he can talk and flow just really well. I mean, I wish I had that, gift of gab, and I'm sure that these guys agree. And it's a total radio voice. Now I've been in media myself pretty much like for like 20-30 years, and I know a radio voice when I see it, and Sebastian has that radio voice. Like he can be a DJ if he wanted to,
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Hey, go ahead, Ava. What are you gonna say?
I make fun of him a lot, but yeah, I am jealous of that. I wish I could just do that.
That's so, what? That's weird to hear, because when I first heard my voice, I was like, I have a horrible voice for podcasting. Yeah, I didn't really like it, but I do say it's a little unique. But you know what? I do get nervous sometimes, and I do kind of have every now and again I won't have something to say, and I hate when that happens. It completely throws me off my game. But Los, as you know, do you go by Los?
Yeah, I go by Los. Carlos.
Okay.
Los.
As you know, being a podcaster yourself, when you have to carry a show, sometimes it's easy to kind of get lost, and even sometimes what other people are saying, I'm not paying attention because I'm paying attention to other things going on around me instead of the conversation, which is why I like this, because I don't have to do that.
Hey, I do have a question. And you don't have to give names. You don't have to bust anybody out. Or you can, but
we would prefer it if you did, though.
You don't have to.
Just for ratings, that's all.
It can be either a good memory, bad memory. A show that you've done in the last 9 months, dude, where you were like, this either fucking sucks, or man, I don't want this to end, or a little bit of both. Like it was a train wreck, but you were really interested in to see how it ended.
Or just a really kick-ass interview.
Ava's and mine are probably gonna be different. I had one with the band. We redid the interview. We had to redo the interview. So luckily it wasn't live. But because and I'll tell you, the band's name is Steak Sauce Mustache. They're a great band. And the guys in the band are super cool, which is why they're like, yeah, we'll redo it. We redid the show though because they're very comedic, and I was not prepared for their comedy. And so I was like I would ask a question, and they would answer the question with like something not even related to what I asked them. And but they were doing that on purpose, and they were told to do it on purpose. And so that threw me off my game, and I was like, I'm not airing this. Well, we got them back on, and they still did a little bit of that, but it wound up being a really good band. It wound up being a great podcast when we redid it. So
right on.
Ava, do you have any of those?
Well, I haven't been doing it for nearly as long. But there was one band that every time we'd ask them what their song was about, they'd say it's a love song about killing bitches.
Oh, yeah! I forgot about that.
What other kind?
It's pretty uncomfortable.
Wow.
What band was that?
Drop Dead Damn It.
Oh, yeah, it was Drop Dead Damn It. Okay.
Were they punk band or?
It sounds like NWA or something. Like, we're going to kill. Yeah, we love them, but we're going to kill them.
No, Drop Dead Damn It's like
Rockabilly.
Rockabilly-ish. They're from Oklahoma. They're from a lot in Oklahoma. So, yeah, what's your song about killing bitches?
So, Sebastian, you're from Vacaville originally, right? What do you do? You're in Nebraska?
Oklahoma.
What are you doing out there?
Dude. I moved from Vacaville when I was 24. And I moved to Portland, Oregon for like a few months. Then I moved to like the Olympia area for a little bit, not very long at all. And I honestly, the true story is I met my ex-wife on MySpace.
Wow. And
I came to Oklahoma, and she picked me up at the airport, and we were together like 7 years. We got a almost 13-year-old daughter now, and then I'm remarried and I have another daughter. And so life just, at 24 years old, I think that is at that age in your life, if you're going to do something and make some changes, I think that early, like that mid to late 20s, that's where you can kind of almost define what's going to happen for the rest of your life. Yeah. For me. And that's when I found my career, and I happen to be in Oklahoma. So once that happens, you have kids. Now my life's in Oklahoma, but I love Oklahoma City. So
yeah, when you said that you met your first wife on MySpace, I thought it was like a Netflix documentary we were about to start talking about. I was like, man, did I see this one?
Tom's a matchmaker.
Yeah.
Good old Tom. Love that guy. He gets shouts out all the time.
I met my best friend on Craigslist.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a story. What's that story?
Oh, it's not really a story. It's me moving to Austin and being here for a long time without meeting anybody because I'm socially awkward, and finding the strictly platonic section on Craigslist and making a post. So
there's actually, you would think people go on strictly platonic on Craigslist to not really be strictly platonic.
Right.
They want you to think that they are.
Hey,
Yeah.
Ava, you live in Austin, Texas?
Yeah.
How is the music scene in Austin, Texas? I've always heard it's legendary in Austin, Texas. Like I believe 6th Street in Austin, Texas. I heard it got crazy. Like crazy music scene down there. I don't know if it's true. So I'm curious.
Yeah, it is a good music scene, but like as a musician, it gets kind of frustrating. There's just way too many bands here, way too many artists. But if you want to go out and see live music, like you can do that. Yeah.
You can come play in Vacaville. Our music scene's probably worse.
It used to be the best.
Well, exactly.
It used to be the best. It used to be the best.
But then Papa Roach left, and then now we're like, oh, where's Papa Roach?
Right?
Speaking of, it's Papa Roach Day in Vacaville. Shout out to Papa Roach.
They got a Papa Roach Day?
Yeah, dude,
Yep.
May 3rd.
Well, you know, they had like balloons shaped like cockroaches, and you know, everyone was smoking and slashing their wrists and going broken home.
Dude, like, yeah, I think the mayor presented him with the key to the city or some shit like that.
Wow.
Hey,
you
Ava,
guys-
speaking of being a musician, tell us a little bit about your band and how you even got into music and all that kind of stuff.
Well, music has been a part of my life since I was born, I guess. And I don't know, I avoided it for a very long time just because of my dad, and I thought that like no matter what, I was just gonna be in his shadow. So I avoided it, and then like finally when I was 21 or something like that, I realized it was the only thing that makes me happy. And actually, like pretty much as soon as I realized that, I met Raph, and Weird Wolves was born. So it's pretty convenient. But yeah, I guess I opened up to it, and
What instruments do you play?
I play the guitar and the bass in the band.
Oh,
So we
okay,
switch off.
so that's you on the bass in the middle of your guys' single Overdrive. That's you.
No,
Oh.
no. So we switch off playing the bass.
Okay.
And he is definitely the more advanced bass player. I actually didn't start playing the bass until Weird Wolves. So
Okay. I was listening to your guys' song today, and the bass line in the middle of it, I was like, it caught my ear. I was like, oh, that's a sick bass line right there. It's got, for me, I heard some funk in there, a little bit of funk in there, and I was like, oh, shit, okay, you know. I enjoyed it, so.
He's an awesome bass player. So yeah,
Sweet.
thanks.
So is
You
it
know,
just two of you?
Yeah, it's just the two of us, and we hire a session drummer whenever we perform. So
You were talking about growing up and with your dad, obviously having the success he had. Did that? I guess did you realize, like, maybe growing up, like how important like your dad's music was to, like, there's a whole generation that grew up, and
yeah, it's when you tour with them in Europe, it's hard to ignore because like he can't go anywhere without being approached. So they have lines outside the hotel, people just waiting. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to ignore.
I can hear, like, obviously there's I think there's some influence there, obviously, and it's interesting because we're kind of going through, obviously we've been doing this a long time, and we have a lot of influences, and really over the last year as we've been writing, because I think in the past we've always like, oh no, that sounds too much like so and so, or that's too much like, but I think we've really kind of, sort of the same thing, we've kind of opened up to that. Like, hey, we're influenced. I mean, if you're a musician, you're influenced by somebody. So,
Right.
I think it's kind of cool though that your influence, one of your influences is, a family member like that. It's pretty cool. There's the single that just came out. Like, is that going to be part of like
an album,
EP or anything like that, or an album, or is that just?
Yeah, it is going to be a part of an EP that is all Weird West related, the video game. So yeah, should be very soon when that comes out.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask on that too. How did you guys get involved with the video game industry as far as getting your music on those games?
So my bandmate Raph actually makes video games. He started Arcane Studios. So I don't know if you guys are gamers, but like the games just Dishonored and Prey. So he's our connection basically.
That's cool.
That's dope. We want to hear your song, Ava. But first, we want to ask Sebastian about his musical background, because I know Sebastian has to have some kind of a musical background. I know it.
Yes, I do. Yeah, dude. As a matter of fact. Nope. So I grew up. I grew up playing the drums. In fact, so Dave from Papa Roach, his mom's, their family used to babysit my sister and myself. A couple of my parents and his parents were friends, and so I remember going at least once seeing Papa Roach practice, and it was at Dave's house in the garage, and I remember seeing them wailing on him playing the drums, and I was like probably 12 years old, and I think they had just started. And I remember going into Dave's room, and he had like a poster with like mustaches drawn on, like, I don't know if it was like New Kids on the Block or some shit like that. It was a long time ago, so my memory could be wrong. But seeing them play the music at a young age really wanted me to play. Like, I just was fascinated by the drums at that point. I thought it was really cool to be able to see that. And this is when, before they even probably signed to Onion Hardcore and that record label. And then I guess, in ninth grade, I met a friend named Evan, and he lived in Linwood Knowles Apartments, which is where Jerry Horton lived. And so we would see them we would see him loading up. I think he had a van, like a white van back in the day. We'd see him loading up the van, and we'd be out there skateboarding, and he's like, "You guys going to the Papa Roach concert?" We're like, "Yeah, we're going to the Papa Roach concert." And so just that, I think anyone who was into rock music in like the late and early 2000s was wanted to be in a band. And Carlos, you know how that is. Malcontent knows how that is. I mean, you would go to the concert, local show where you could play, and you were selling on cash. You were just doing everything. And I think everybody wanted to be on that stage at that point in time.
Yep.
So I wanted to play the drums, and I was in a band. My band was we were okay. We weren't like that great. We were okay. And then moving to Oklahoma, I just didn't really have time. And I was recently in a band called Vocero, but I quit the band when I started doing the podcast because I felt like I don't know. This was more interesting. I had more time to do this by myself than have to make time to practice with a bunch of people, especially with coronavirus.
But do you feel that the podcast then kind of fills that creative outlet for you, like that the band used to do?
100%. Yeah, in fact, I feel like doing this, I feel like I'm in a lot of different bands. I feel like I'm a part of the band just when I'm for that one, 30 minutes to an hour I'm talking to them. Sometimes I feel like I'm in the band, and that does fill the void because, I could take this on tour and go on stage and do live podcasts or live shows or and be a part of a band. A band could even say, "Hey, we're going to go on tour and do a series with you and even Ava, and we're going to have you guys talk to the band and pay you guys to do this thing for us." You never know where it can take off.
No, absolutely.
Later on down the line, and that is pretty exciting to me. So it definitely fills that void.
Oh, absolutely. I can see you guys probably setting up a little table at a huge concert, a festival or something, and just doing it live, and giving people like all the information of the concert and the news and then live interviews and stuff like that. So I think the sky's the limit for you guys, to be honest.
I hope so. And to be fair, when Ava first started, I asked her, I said, because she was so hesitant. She was like, "Do you want to do this?" And she was like, "No." And I said, "Hey, no." I said, "Give us a month. Give it a month. And if you don't want to do it after a month, then that's fine. Go ahead and you can go ahead and leave. But if you want to stay and keep on talking and doing this, then feel free to do that as well." I just kind of left it up to her if she wanted to stay doing it. And I think the more and more episodes we do, she interrupts me, which is what I love. Thank God. She's fine. She's doing some of that. And she's really kind of come out of her shell a little bit. So I don't know. I think she's gonna stick around for a little bit.
I saw her giving you some shit during the Dishwalla interview. I thought it was funny.
Oh yeah, because that's not a good question, Sebastian.
I was like, right on, Ava. we want to listen to your single, Ava, but can you tell us like the name Weird Wolves? How did you guys choose that name?
It's just because we're both weird and we both like wolves. It's literally
That works.
Simplicity is awesome. So right about now we are going to get into Overdrive from the Weird Wolves, and I apologize I couldn't figure out. I'm having a lot of technical issues tonight, guys, but I apologize that I couldn't make it so that you guys could see what what I'm seeing here, but we can surely listen to it. So here we go with Overdrive by the Weird Wolves.
Did it end?
Very good.
That
Very
was awesome. Wow.
Thank you.
That great big voice coming out of you.
I know, dude. I was thinking the same thing, dude.
I get that a lot.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's
wow.
very unique too. It's not. I mean, there's a lot of female voices out there, and but it's got a definitely unique tone. I love the contrast between both of your vocals. I think it's like that's a perfect match, really. And that song, like I don't know, I was totally digging it. I was thinking about I've been listening for whatever reason. I've been listening to the Crow soundtrack from the very first Crow movie, and it would totally fit on that soundtrack. Like completely would fit on that soundtrack. I love the feel of that.
Thank you.
Where did you guys record that at?
So it was actually, we originally recorded it in Raph's studio at his house, and then we reached out to Josh Boardman from Battle Tapes, and he was the one that produced it. So he was the one that made it all big and like awesome. So
that was very good, very good. The production is very well done. Very good.
Yeah.
Your lead, you sound a little. To me, I'm getting like hints of like Amy Lee from Evanescence.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard like a mixture of that and Billie Eilish.
Yeah. And your lead singer reminds me of I'm an 80s guy, right? So there's a movie from the 80s that you guys know it. It's called The Lost Boys. But at the very beginning, they play a song. And he sounds like
Sing it.
Yeah. Let me play it. See if I'll find it.
You know, I everything she needs about singing, so just trying to say, Ava, you're welcome. I've given her lessons since she was a little kid, man.
No, that was Bieber, dude. That was Bieber.
Yeah. Apparently.
So Sebastian gonna guest star on the Weird Wolves album.
Yeah. I think I would ruin their album. Oh, this was cool till this other guy started singing.
No, on the drums, dude. The drums.
I could do the drums to that. I did listen to the drums on that song, and I was like, I could do that. I can do that.
There you go.
I live in Oklahoma City.
Listen to this. Listen to this, just so that you guys don't think that I'm crazy here. Listen to this.
Okay.
Feels weird.
Not that.
Pick up.
A Marvel commercial. All right. This is from The Lost Boys. That's the bat flying around.
I hear it already.
Yeah, I hear it.
Black house will rock. Blind boys don't lie.
I know this song.
Dude. Sorry. It's having my 80s moment.
Yeah, no, I can. You know what, Ava? I think that your band definitely has a 80s. It's like an 80s gothy, dark techno sound to it.
Yes. Like I've said many times, we go with electro goth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Electro goth.
Wow.
Hey, we got to check, and Ava needs to check out. I don't think she's ever heard Malcontent. You've heard me talk about them. I don't know if you heard me talk about them before tonight, but those two guys on my screen, they're on the right, so I don't know where they're at, but the two guys with the hats on, they're in a band called Cool.
Awesome.
They just finished recording over the weekend.
Yeah, we just came out of the studio this weekend. We were in there for grinding for 2 days. Yeah. It was no. Our newer songs are becoming more intricate, so they're taking longer in the studio. And it's been a grind. So
it's always fun. I mean,
it's fun. It's
being
fun.
involved in music. It's like I think Sebastian touched on it. Was that COVID really changed the game for everyone, and these guys have been just writing, and we started this podcast very, very the same reason that Sebastian did his, and was like, we needed something to do because it was like COVID is just a bitch, and it's just really throwing a monkey wrench into the program. And so it's nice to be creating music, but when everything opens back up, it's going to be on, I think.
I think it's hard. I think it's going to be hard for bands to get like, so we book bands out a month in advance, a month and a half in advance, which is sometimes why they don't show up to the show because they forget about it, right?
Yeah.
But I think that when they're not going to be able to do that because they don't know if they're going to tour.
Right.
And they may not have to do a podcast. And so, that gets my brain thinking a little bit. And I've talked to Ava about it before and Sam, my producer, we may want to change things up and not just do bands. Maybe do comedians or actors. I like to play bits of whatever they've done. And you could do that with comedians or actors and air that on your episode to get people to see what you've done. Yeah. And so more than just musicians, I think would allow me as an interviewer to grow, first of all, to be able to ask different questions, but also allows me to kind of change my platform just a little bit and make things just more interesting. And I think I think I'd have a lot of fun with it.
So is that what you guys are going to be doing? Like the future of the Loud Spot is going to be just opening it up to different entertainers and.
I think so.
Yeah.
I say, what do you think? You think you want to do that?
I'd be fine with that.
It's like, whatever, dude.
I'm just going with the flow.
Just let me know who it's gonna be first.
Well, Sebastian, you guys are opened up basically out there in Oklahoma, right? Like they're doing live shows out there already.
That's why I don't have any bands from Oklahoma on. Because they're all doing live shows.
Road
Dude,
trip,
we haven't played live in almost a year. Last time we played was in July of last year. So,
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, California's a little. I think in Austin they're open though too, aren't they?
Play with each other. They play with themselves daily. Just.
Yeah, Austin is opening up. We have a show actually June 5th, which it's been over a year now since we played at an actual live venue. We've been doing the live stream stuff, but that's not the same.
Yeah,
No, it's not the same.
We've been so against doing like a live stream thing because we don't want to go on there and we don't want to compromise our sound. Like, and I think that's unless you have the money to put into it and get like good production to do a live stream, I just don't see it being worth it myself. So.
Yeah, that's what I kept saying. I was like, if we're going to do it, it's got to be right. We got to do it right.
Yeah.
I definitely lucked out with my bandmate because he likes video games, so he has the money. So we definitely got good equipment, but I still hate doing it. Like just performing in front of a camera and a computer screen, like it's not.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's awful.
That's a good question for both Ava and Sebastian. Have there been any thoughts of having a studio with a scene and you guys doing it in person rather than just doing it online, or do you foresee yourselves doing the Loud Spot on online mostly?
So I'll take the lead on this. I think. Okay, so would I love to do an actual in-person sit-down interview and have Ava there? 100%, absolutely. I think it would be more entertaining, more fun. We'd have more her interaction on it. I'd shut up a lot more and let her talk because I'd say, "Hey, if you want something to say, just fucking hit me on my side, and I'll stop talking." But I because she lives in Austin, right? I live in Oklahoma City. That's like a 6 to 8 hour drive, somewhere around there. So it's not close. Even if we did it one day a week or one day a month, it's too far to drive to do this. Maybe one day a month we could probably figure something out. But I think the goal is to eventually get, we hope anyways, to eventually maybe get picked up by an entertainment company or someone who's willing to give us a small salary or a big salary or any kind of salary. Any kind of salary, and if we were under contract, and they say, "Hey, we got a spot for you guys. You got to move to the studio." I know that I would take my family to wherever they had that place for me because I would tell my wife, "Sorry, this is what we're doing." And I Ava, I don't know if she'd come along or not, but I think she might. I don't know, she might. What would you say if that happened? Would you do it?
Would I I don't know.
Oh yeah, but she has weird wolves. She has weird wolves also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a hard question.
Yeah, that is. If you didn't have weird wolves, she would do it. I'm just kidding. No, I don't know.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
What if they're like your studios in Austin? That she would just show the studio. But yeah, my goal is to eventually have a place to actually do the studio, not just be on, or have a studio, not just be online in my, the back of my house. But that may never change either. So you never know.
Well, I think you guys definitely have a good thing going. What would you guys? What else? Well, aside from the podcast and the music and everything else, what else are you guys into? What do you guys do for fun?
Ava.
I'm an artist, I guess. I like to draw.
Oh, cool.
This is a hard question. I feel like my life is like mainly music. Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of pets.
What pets do you have?
I have 2 dogs, a snake, and a tarantula.
Oh, cool.
My 13-year-old wants a snake, and we say no snakes. My wife's afraid to.
We all know what Sebastian does on his free time. He'd be making TikTok videos.
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you made some good ones, dude. I've seen a couple of them where I was like, that's pretty funny.
Yeah. No, yeah. You know what? I don't even have a lot of free time. So my free time is TikToks because I have, married, kids. I work full time at a law firm, manage a law firm.
Yeah.
So I got employees under me. So I work a lot, and then I come home and I do a podcast. And then in the meantime, in between work and podcast, because I do them 3 days a week, right?
Yeah.
Really 4 days a week because I video one and then I play it on Friday. So it's almost like 4 days a week. In between that time, it's like dinner, spend time with the wife and the kids. If there's any homework that needs to be done.
Yeah.
And then if I don't have a podcast, I'm doing TikTok. But also, if I get too drunk during the podcast, I also do TikTok. It just depends.
That's awesome.
I've done some shows where I'm like, I need to just hang up right now.
That's
So
funny.
this is a good question, and one that it's kind of self-serving a little bit. What advice would you give to anybody who wants to start a podcast in this day and age? Is there any advice that you would give to someone?
You know what? I belong to some podcast groups where I hear, and I'm sure you are too, and people ask questions, and they ask for advice, like, what kind of topics do you want to talk about? First, if you want to start a podcast, don't ask what topic you want to talk about. Mm-hmm. Just don't do it, because you're just not going to be a good podcaster. Like, you should have a reason to want to talk, which would make you want to start the podcast.
Right.
Is what I think. And just, if you're going to do it, just do it. So many people are hesitant. They ask for my advice. I give them advice. Months later, they still haven't started it yet. Yeah, do it. Yeah, and it is scary interviewing people, and you're gonna have some hiccups. You're gonna have some bad shows.
Yeah.
I've done it recently. Even I did a show I thought was just okay, but I texted her afterwards. I said, you know what? You live, you learn, you watch it, and you grow from it, and you become better at it.
Yeah.
Because now you know you made your mistakes. And sometimes I don't want to go back and watch certain episodes I did because I didn't like the way I performed or the way the band answered the questions.
Yeah.
And I force myself to watch it, and I'll take some notes on it because that's only going to make you better. And, doing this 9 months, people are going to make mistakes. And if you want to start a podcast, do it. Just turn on that camera, turn on that microphone, and hit record. And hit record, man. You're not going to do it till you do it. You're never going to learn unless you try, right?
Absolutely. And,
That's great.
These guys were talking about doing a podcast for a while, and I think I kind of pushed them into it. Because
good.
Yeah, and we were just starting out, and we were just kind of trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to talk about? Are we going to talk about music, or are we going to talk about this or that and that? And we just finally settled on, we're going to just talk about music related things, right? But it's like you said, you just have to hit play and record. your podcast, and you just have to do it. I mean, that's the only way for you to actually learn and to be more comfortable on camera, learn to ask questions, learn to entertain, because a lot of it's, entertainment too,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's such advice. I'm glad that you said that. What about you, Ava? Do you have any tips? I know that you're kind of like Sebastian's yin. Sebastian's the yin, you're the yang, or whatever. But
you're the yin to his yang.
It's not easy talking on camera. What advice would you give to somebody who's a little bit hesitant of answering questions or talking on camera? What are some things that have helped you out?
Well, first off, I just thought it would be good to get out of my comfort zone just as a musician and performing. Like, I thought it'd make it easier for me to perform in front of a crowd. So that's why I started doing it. And, I've been nervous every single time. I have to admit that a couple drinks have helped me for a few shows. But I think, just doing it is the best way to just get through it. I don't know. Like, it's fun. So don't worry about it too much, I guess.
Dive in head first.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I don't like talking in front of the camera. I'm not a people person.
Oh, but
I'm not a front man.
You're such a sweet.
No, dude, but I am a guitar player. I am a guitar player, so every now and then the ego does come out a little bit,
I will say that I've watched before you even did the show with them. I'd watched the show they were on, and then now with you guys, and I love watching your guys' show. I think you're great at talking to people. Also, it's not easy to do sometimes. It's not easy to do, but it is a lot of fun. And if you can get out there and just talk to people if you want to, I think it's a great way to just let some stuff out and just talk, It was a perfect example, by the way, of someone who was very hesitant to even be on on my show. And she gave a great answer right there. You just like she said, she's nervous. If you don't think I'm nervous before every show, you're kidding yourself. Every show I'm like, I get nervous before I start every single time for some reason.
Ava, do you get nervous before you perform every show live, like when you're performing with your band?
I'd say there are definitely different levels of nervousness that I experience, and sometimes it's almost non-existent. And I've noticed it depends on how many people I'm close to are there in the crowd. So, if I have like my family or like my boyfriend or my best friend in the crowd, like for some reason that is like my rock, and I don't even notice anyone else. So, but then there was one show that I did and nobody came. I was a nervous wreck. Like, my hands were shaking. I couldn't play the guitar because my hands were shaking so much. But I do get nervous, I think, every time, just not as much as I sometimes do.
I've been performing live for 20 years, and I get nervous as hell before every show. I pace. I can't eat, and it doesn't matter if there's one person or 50 people, I still get nervous for every show. It's great.
You get nervous, Carlos?
Oh, hell yeah. I get nervous all the time. Yeah, I stumble, when I don't know what to say, I'll stumble. So there are little tricks, verbal tricks I know, like when I try not to say because nobody really likes hearing that shit. So I'll just prolong my vowels, and so I'm right now, kind of that thing. So there are little verbal tricks that I've picked up along the way. But yes, I do get nervous every single time I hit record, and it's a very human thing to do, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm used to being in front of the camera and stuff, but with these, I think I'm getting a little bit better on camera, especially with these guys, because doing it by yourself is no fun at all. You always have to have somebody there to banter with, to talk with, to bounce ideas off of, to bullshit with, make fun of. Like, I make fun of these guys, and they make fun of me and all that stuff.
It is. I will say this: my producer and I, we do, and Ava's there a lot of times we do banter back and forth on. But when we do, though, it makes the show for me more fun because because now I'm not even paying attention to the band anymore. I'm just someone else and I are just kind of talking shit to each other. For that little period of time, and then kind of hits a reset button. And while you're doing that, you can kind of think of other things to talk about. Ava and I don't really do the back and forth thing. She did tell me that was a horrible question one time, and I absolutely love that she did that.
Yeah.
Because that's like I feed into that kind of energy. You know, it makes you feel like I'm doing something right.
No, absolutely. That kind of interplay is good, and just Anthony and Heath are always they always have something interesting to say. Like they have tons of stories and stuff. And just the other day, Anthony and I were rolling up to the studio, and he tells me about the time that Tom Morello was pissed off at him for having this big ass mask on during his set and acting the fool, basically. But that is a story for another podcast. But stories like that are always just super entertaining. And I think the goal for us is eventually to have a set where we can sit down and chop it up and invite people and stuff like that. But for now, this is going to have to do, right? Because California, as you guys know, is it's not as open.
Strict.
It's California.
So
It's California.
well, we're coming up on an hour now. We're gonna do some shout outs. Who wants to start?
Ooh,
I'll
man.
start.
Go ahead.
Dude, I want to shout Sebastian out and Ava for coming on and being our guests, and
Thank you.
and it's cool. It's cool to be with another podcast crew and talk about some of those things. So, and then obviously all the listeners out there that tuned in, we appreciate it.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of what Heath said, thank you, Sebastian. I love you, man. I appreciate you coming on here. Ava, it was nice to meet you. Seen you on my Facebook stream because Sebastian, he's always posting things. And so thank you for coming on. I also want to give a shout out to Joe Johnston and Cameron from Prus Cavern. We drove them crazy this weekend. Rewind to do it again. Rewind to do it again. Rewind to do it again. So thank you to them. But yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, I just want to shout out again, like my fellow podcasters here. I want to shout out Sebastian and Ava. Thank you very much, guys, for coming on here and sharing your story with us, basically, and talking with us and making this a cool, entertaining show. And I want to shout out Malcontent, obviously. I want to shout out Alan and Yayo and Maddie and Heath and Anthony. I want to shout out Joe. And yeah, that's about it.
Ava, you want to
Oh, sure. Well, thank you guys for having us on the show. It's been
Thank you.
a lot of fun. I want to give a shout out to the band Battle Tapes that produced our newest single. And kind of random, but my sister's band, Slushy, she just started making music also. So just want to give her a shout out.
Nice. Awesome.
I feel like I've had like this runny nose this whole time we've been on the show. What is going on?
Shout out to allergies, baby. Shout out to
allergies. No,
Amen.
God. No, you know what? I want to give a shout. We'll watch it later when I see if I got like mucus all over my mustache. But I want to give a shout out to every podcaster that does what I do. So that goes for you, Carlos. And I want to give a shout out to every band that has been on and supported my podcast and let me support them. And that goes for both Malcontent and Weird Wolves. Just shout out to bands that give people like Carlos and I an opportunity to put them out there, give us an opportunity to talk to them and promote them. And we learn from them. They learn from us. And I think it's absolutely fantastic what you're doing. And shout out to you. Thank you for letting us be on your show, man.
Oh,
appreciate it so much.
And thank you. And Heath and Anthony are there too. I mean, we're all a team here. Malcolm.
Yeah, that's right. I'm still used to seeing your own show. Now it's the MaloCast.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm still not 100% used to that. I do watch it, but I'm still used to you having your own show then you started with this. So awesome. You guys are doing great, man. I love every episode you guys play. So how many episodes are you on now?
I think this is going to be the 6th one.
6? Yeah. So awesome. Yeah. Kudos.
So Sebastian and Ava, where can somebody go and check out the Loud Spot? I'm going to put all of the links in the description, but let us know where can we find you guys?
You can go to TikTok. we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, YouTube, because we do film our shows, also audio, Apple, Spotify, Deezer, iHeartRadio, pretty much everywhere you can go. We're not on Twitter, but everything else besides Twitter we're pretty much on.
Sweet. And so I'll also link some information, about Loudspot as well as the Weird Wolves in the description to this video. Guys, don't forget to go in there, visit them, subscribe to them, show them some love, guys. That's how these things grow. That's how these things that gives us motivation to keep going. So make sure that you go over to the Loudspot and to the Weird Wolves, subscribe, comment, like, share. Gotta share.
Gotta share it.
And show your love.
Thank you.
All right, guys. And that's going to be it. Catch you next time. Peace.
All right. Bye.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.